This podcast and any written materials related to it represent the opinions of Paula Atkinson and Lisa Kays, and our guests to the show and any written materials. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. German historian and philosopher Hannah Arendt reminds us that the constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. A people that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such a people, you can do whatever you want. Your own intuition and your instincts know the difference between what is right and wrong. May that be an inner guide to you in the coming days and weeks, and months and years. This episode was taped prior to the 2024 presidential election. However, we feel that it is still relevant and important in the current shifting context that has occurred since then, because our instincts and our intuition may now be as important as ever.
All right, we had some technical difficulties, but I think we're going. Hello, I am Paula D. Atkinson.
I am still Lisa KKs.
And this is What If Nothing Is Wrong With You. We're going to do a quick and dirty one today. So we're going to talk about intuition, but first we have a little bit of chit chat. Lisa, you go first. What's your topic?
Shrinking season 2 is out.
How do you feel about
Something groundbreaking has happened
Oh.
that has never happened, as far as I know, in therapy TV.
They took away his
ever.
license?
Harrison Ford, who is aging far more rapidly than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's a whole other situation. Harrison Ford scolded the F out of him and was like, well, I don't want to give it away. He got taken to task. The elephant in the room was addressed. And along with it, because I don't want to spoil it, what I saw happening was, oh my God, he addressed the white savior issue.
Oh.
It ends up becoming very clear that what is behind, I think, a lot of this nonsense about therapists, bringing people home and God knows whatnot, is a white savior complex.
Yes.
And they just, I don't think they knew they were taking that apart. I felt that they were.
Okay.
Because I'm an English major and that's how I watch TV. Shrinking is a therapy show starring 3 therapists, one of whom is Harrison Ford, who plays the elder supervisor, 2 of whom are like Gen X, whatevers. And one of them ends up by the end of season 1, brings his patient home to live with him.
Ethical
and
violation.
No one addresses this as weird, which makes me, if you go to our episode on TV therapists, it's very upsetting to me.
There.
And I have never seen it addressed in the show.
Great.
And they addressed it. And I was like, oh, look, it's not always helpful for us to go around white savioring everyone.
Amazing.
I will leave it there so that everyone can watch and enjoy on their own.
Okay.
But my jaw was on the floor. I was so shocked.
Wait,
and
does Harrison Ford really say white savior syndrome?
No, not
okay,
that.
okay.
But he literally is like, this is not okay. This is how you are harming him. This is how it is psychologically bad for him. I mean, I've never seen this done.
Did they listen to our episode?
Enjoy. I was like, I'm available to consult. Perhaps you, but it's like, I felt finally less crazy.
Good.
I could watch therapy TV without that thing in my mind going, why are we acting like this is fine? It's not funny.
Yeah, maybe Jason Segel listened. That'd be great. I bet you they got so much feedback from actual therapists who were like, you guys, you can't
stop it. Like, it's not funny.
Yeah. It's not
anyway. Here
Speaking
for it.
very similar, the Menendez brothers show Monsters. It's in the new Ryan Murphy that about Ryan Murphy takes like actual historical events and then gays it up and puts gorgeous people in it and then gives it back to us, which I appreciate. The whole Menendez thing is they kill their parents and then one of the hot gay Menendez brothers goes and tells his therapist, and the therapist immediately tells the woman that he's sleeping with. And I was like, he loses his license. Like, you can't do that. I was like, you can't just tell. I'm like, no, you can't tell anything.
Although I'm now learning about boards, they're not going to take your license.
No.
The boards don't seem to care about anything, but theoretically,
especially with white men therapists can do obviously anything they want.
Anything they want.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I want to talk about The Substance. Have either of you seen this movie?
No.
Oh my God. You will probably hate it. A lot of people do. It is Demi Moore plays an aging Hollywood actress in a very we don't know if it's the 80s or the 90s. Everyone's using landlines, but also you don't know what time it is, but it's in Hollywood. She's aging. She finds this substance where if you take it, a younger, hotter version of you is birthed out of your spine. It's so gory. And then the hotter, younger version of her goes and gets her job back, which was like a Jane Fonda type exercise show. It is so gory and fucked up and demented and disturbing. And I loved every minute of it. It is so good. Written and directed by a woman, a French woman who I am absolutely obsessed with now. It is the end is insane. There's so much gore and blood, and it's all about ageism and wellness culture and beauty and misogyny. Dennis Quaid, who was in the Valley 2 weeks ago at the Trump rally, so he is actual trash. He plays like this trashy, disgusting, misogynistic Hollywood and his name is actually Harvey in the movie, right? Like plays Harvey. It's so good. If you can squeamishly look through your eyes through the gore, it is brilliant. It's sort of like Death Becomes Her, but less campy and more gory. It's incredible. Highly recommend.
I can't do gore, but I got a lot out of that retelling.
It is so good. It's so good. Carlo and I we're buzzing. It's one of those movies that I haven't had this happen in a while. Like afterwards, I was buzzing with the brilliance and so much nervous laughter because it just the gory parts just go on. They're so gratuitous and it just goes on and on and on. And it's truly amazing. So I highly recommend. Maybe watch it when it's streaming and you can fast forward through the gory parts because it's
my 9-year-old will love it.
It's genius. Okay, and then the last chit chat we have is Lisa and I have both gone to concerts lately that are of boomer white people. So a lot of people in attendance were boomer white people. And the thing that we've noticed, and we don't want this to be a boomer bashing podcast, although maybe we're not bashing them. We just both recognize that they are so anxious
and angry.
Mine
were angry.
Grumpy.
But I think angry often is a byproduct of anxiety.
Yes.
What did you experience? What were the symptoms of the concert going boom that you experienced?
So Carlo and I saw Joni Mitchell at the Hollywood Bowl. It was magical. It was otherworldly. It is my religion. I am a different person than I was on before Saturday night. It was so good. And we were at the Hollywood Bowl. It's all white people. It's all relatively older white people. They are so nervous about anybody getting anything that they haven't got. My life partner is not a small person. He is a large man. And they Karen and Cindy's are elbowing Carlo in the gut to get in front of him. Everybody has assigned seats. You have a seat, Cindy.
Where are you going?
It's
not the lawn. Calm down.
You have a seat. It's going to be, there will be enough Pinot Grigio for you. Everything's going to be fine. It was and Carlo was like, what is happening? Like, he could take any one of these women who haven't eaten carbs since 1975 out with just his finger, and they are fully just so anxious about getting in front of us. And
So let me tell you
yeah.
what happened at James Taylor,
Oh.
because it's a similar symptom profile. So at James Taylor, which is on my bucket list my whole life, just wanted to
Fabulous.
see the James Taylor.
Great.
They wouldn't, first of all, they wouldn't sing. So afterwards I said to David, I was like, is that weird that like no one was singing at, like, you know, when you're at a concert and you feel weird singing because no one else is? And I'm like, you didn't come here to hear me, but also it's fire and what are we doing?
Everybody
Silence
knows the words to
at
that.
James Taylor. He wasn't playing weird tracks no one knew. He was playing the hits.
He's not playing his B-sides.
Silence. David was like, this, even my husband, who often I'm like, wasn't that weird? And he's like, what? He was like, that was weird. Then so just so uptight. It just felt so uptight. Then I roll into the bathroom.
Oh.
And now I'm strategic about the bathroom because I roll in there as soon as possible, but also you're going to wait for 3 hours in your car anyway to get out of the parking lot. Again, it's like
wolf trap, right?
it's like, where are you going?
Yeah.
A woman came into the bathroom ready to start a brawl because there are 2 feeders at Wolf Trap. Now, when you go to the Indigo
Oh.
Girls, everyone knows how this works and it's fine and everybody's
And
chill.
all the
You'd
women
think
go in
after
the men's
2
room.
hours
Yeah.
of James Taylor, we're all chill as fuck. No. This lady comes in and she's like, no, this is not how this works. Back off, like accusing us in the other line of trying to infiltrate and somehow steal her bath. I was like, lady, you go right ahead.
Wow.
What is wrong with you all?
Anxious.
Like, if fire and rain can't, and James Taylor's funny.
Oh, he
You
is.
should be at like a 0 to 1 anxiety, anger spectrum.
No.
You should be hugging everyone you see after you listen to, no, these boomers, they are not okay.
No.
They're very territorial.
No.
I was like, oh, the colonialism is like right there.
This is mine. Manifest
Colonizing
destiny.
the bathroom at Wolf Trap. Calm down.
It's intense. It's intense.
They're not okay. We're worried about you, all you boomers. We have that faux kind of concern that people have for fat people. We're concerned.
I'm very concerned about your health.
Really,
Also.
though, we're like, what the fuck?
Please don't talk to me. Yeah. And so we are talking about intuition today, and perhaps intuition would help out some boomers. Because as I always say, my definition of mental illness is believing everything in your head. Intuition is the opposite of your intellect, is the opposite of all the shit in your head. I think a lot of the boomers don't listen to their intuition and probably listen to all the fearful bullshit in their head. It's not their fault. They were born in the 40s. But we want to talk about how we can, because Lisa and I have been talking about this in terms of what's a quick topic that we could talk about on the podcast, and something that seems to come up over and over and over and over in our sessions. And so we wanted to talk about this in terms of like just an easy way, another easy thing that you can get more in touch with that would distract you from the bullshit in your head. So the main thing we're thinking about is like, this is what we were talking about, intuition versus like anxiety / rumination. You called it fantasy, which I think is good. So how do you know the difference between whether it's your intuitive voice or your anxious voice or your fearful voice or your intellect or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we're going to try to get that cleared up for you today, but I don't know how well we're going to do.
And to be clear, we haven't studied it. We haven't read any white men. We're just going to base this on our own lived experience. And we don't know. I mean, but this is kind of what we have sorted out. And we've decided our own lived experience may trump everything else at this point in time.
Which for 2 white women is just absolutely revolutionary.
It's groundbreaking.
Okay, so tell us about your group.
Well, this came up because I had a week where I had literally, I think 4 groups talked about intuition.
Yeah.
In terms of someone would come in and be like, I don't know, I just don't want to do it. I just have this feeling, but I can't back it up. And it kept happening. And I would have the group explore it. And they would all say, well, but how do I know that's not my anxiety? Like casebook. It was like a script.
Yeah.
And so as they explored it, and I would, and we're going to get into like the intuition anxiety piece in a minute. But what was funny is I'd say, if you look back over your life at any point that you ignored your intuition or went with it,
Yeah.
Do you have any proof that it's ever misled you? Nobody could come up with one time.
Isn't that
One time.
fascinating? And yet we
It
still
was
doubt it.
And yet everyone in the room was like, "You
Yep.
need to convince me as the therapist that this is just my anxiety." And I was like, "I am not that is not the job I did that job 10 years ago. I don't do it anymore.
No.
That's not what I'm here to do."
Right.
And then the next week, this was super weird. I had 3 and this is we're gonna talk about this too. Intuition is sometimes just about stupid, banal stuff.
Mundane things. Yeah.
I had these random one example, I had 3 of them where my intuition told me to do something. I ignored it and then was greatly inconvenienced
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
So one night it was like, take your laptop home. And I was like, it's not the night to take my laptop home. I take it home on Fridays. It's Thursday. I'm not taking it home. I was arguing with my intuition.
Right?
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
I didn't take the laptop home. I got a text at 11 p.m. that our nanny had COVID. So guess who had to, because now I had to work from home the next day. Guess who had to drive to their office at 11 p.m. and retrieve their laptop that
Right.
their intuition told them they needed.
Right. See, okay, so that's such a great example because one of my examples also really dumb, but like really, but also at the same time could have been really helpful or would have been really helpful if I hadn't listened to it. Mine was I have this car that I love so much to make I see my car. And when my lease was up, I brought it back and the guy wanted to sell me a new car, like a new version of my 2013 electric blue, thank you, Debbie Gibson smart car. I love this car more than life. And he was like, no, you need the new model. You need the new model. The new model of the smart cars are bigger. I have the smallest car on the planet for a reason. I don't want a bigger version of the smallest car on the planet. Anyway, it was like the first time that I stood up to like a salesman, a white male boomer salesman. This was like 10 years ago, but I was really proud of myself where I was just like, no, I don't want the new one. I really just want this car. I had no idea which again sounds super dumb, but it was one of these examples in my head. And I think this is what we're going to talk about later about like the more you listen to it, the more you listen to it. It's one of the examples I go to in my head of I listened and it was the right thing. So now when I bump up against other mundane, dumb things that my intuition is like, girl, you don't want that. No, thank you. I'm like, remember that time with my smart car? Right. And I have this like concrete example in my head that I did.
Yeah, and
I
now I'm
listened.
like, remember that time with the laptop?
Yeah.
How hard is it, Lisa?
Right.
It's usually mundane, stupid things.
It really is. But those mundane, stupid things add up. When you don't listen to it, those things add up and then you hate your life.
Yeah.
My other example of one is, this one is really intense, but in terms of it being, and we're going to talk about this in a second, like how you know it's your intuition. This one was the most clear example of it being so calm. It was when my mom was really sick. And for weeks, it was like, is she going to die? Is she not going to die? Is she blah, 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 blah. And then I just looked at her one day and it was just like, she's dying. And it sounds really sad, but it was just like so clear. And there was no anxiety in that. There was no fear in that. It wasn't happy, but it was just like clear and it was almost neutral. And I feel like that's a big piece of it too, right? It was like a neutral statement. It doesn't mean I didn't have any feelings about it, but it wasn't riddled with anxiety. It definitely wasn't riddled. And I think this is the difference between intuition and anxiety. There was no desperate vibration to it, which I think a lot of my anxiety stuff is there's a desperate vibration. I have to do something right now. I have to do something. There was nothing to do with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's so one thing, and then we're just going to get into the qualities of intuition. Because I love that. It's a perfect, but we just want to say for some people, it is easy to go to like sort of a woo-woo psychic. Paul and I are both graduates of the Boulder Psychic Institute's Enlightenment program. That's how I learned to key into my intuition and to hear it.
Yeah.
And some people like to think of it as a spiritual thing like that. That's fine. You can do that. Or if you're like, I cannot do that. And I have days, and in the psychic program and in my mentoring calls, I'd be like, are we really believing this? And even the psychics teaching it would be like, I don't know, this is weird. But
Totally.
so if it's easier for you, you can also just think of it as the accumulated wisdom of your nervous system. Like in a body keeps the score, like your nervous system is taking in data and
All the
vibes
time.
that you are not conscious of. And we know this, and it acts faster. That like it's
Then
possible
your
that in the
intellect
morning of the laptop thing, I heard my nanny sniffling and I was like, that's weird. She's never sick. But I didn't like process all of, who knows?
consciously,
It could have
totally.
been some spiritual woo woo, or it could have been like I observed three things that my brain didn't tell me about, and then it manifested. And like, there's a high probability that you should take your laptop home,
Sure.
right? Whatever way, we are not invested in how you view
Totally.
this. But in my experience, it can be life changing to start to like really have a relationship with your intuition.
I love
So
the way you said that. Yeah. Cause who cares? Who cares
who cares?
what exactly
Whatever
it is?
works.
Exactly. But what I do know to be true, and I think you do too, is when and I notice this in my clients too, make a conscious effort to deliberately trust my intuition, my life gets better exponentially. When I
Exponentially.
when I deny my internal truth, whether it's from my body keeping score or from the fairies, I do not like it. I do not enjoy my life as much. So that's what we're into.
So the first thing that we think is possibly true about how to distinguish, is this my intuition or is this just my anxiety telling me not to do something, is it will usually be in present time.
Yes.
Meaning it will not be, oh, you should do this in 6 months, you should buy this house, you should date this guy, and should you go on this trip. It's not gonna, that's more like fantasy worry territory.
Sure.
It's also, well, it can't be about the past because obviously that doesn't make sense. It's
Doesn't
usually
exist.
like Paula said about her mother, like a very clear, like just for me, and well, we'll get into that. It's usually a no, but it's just a very clear, like, you don't want this or you want this. And it's in the
Totally.
present.
Yes.
Take the laptop home. It's
Right.
in the present, and that's
Right.
it. So if you're off in fantasy land or you're worrying about the past, that's not your intuition.
Right.
That's probably worrying or fantasizing.
Love. Love.
Great.
Number two, it's brief and simple. Like, she's dying. I don't want that car. No. Like you said, it's a lot of times it's a
Take the
no.
laptop.
It's take the
It's
laptop. Very simple. Now I know that like it for me, it's anxiety when it's like I told you, I'm going to move to the desert. I'm going to buy a cottage. I'm going to make art out of found things. I'm going to, right? Like if it's really complex, a really complex plan with a lot of steps, that's probably not my intuition. So very brief, very simple. And it usually is just if you have to do anything, which you don't always have to. So a lot of times it's a don't do something. But if there is a do something like take your laptop home, it's only one thing. It's not like 17 things.
right.
Yeah.
It was not like take your laptop home,
Um,
take a COVID test. Like
right.
it was just like,
Really
because
quick.
it's usually just the next step. That's the way to
Exactly.
think of it. It's the next
Yeah.
step.
In 12
That's what the
steps, they would
psychics
say,
would say.
and in 12 steps, they say, just do the next right thing. Yeah. Love.
So the other one, the next thing is, it is usually quiet.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear. Anxiety, rumination, that stuff tends to be really loud, at
Loud.
least when it's happening to me. It's like you can't get it out of your head and you're like, please go. I can't
Totally.
hear anything else. It's loud, it's noisy, it's distracting, it's intrusive.
Yeah.
Intuition is almost like you're like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
Did I hear that? Did that? It's like it's quiet, and it took me a year of
Yeah.
psychic training to be able to hear it, because we are so used to dismissing it,
Yeah.
that I think that's one way that I know is when it's something that I'm almost like, did I just hear? Did I? It's like you don't even know it happened.
Yeah.
Almost. It's so quiet.
Yeah. Love that. Julia Cameron calls it your still quiet voice, right? So when we do Artist Way, when we learn about like becoming more of a creative person in the world, she talks about getting in touch with it and that still quiet voice. Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's often more a no than a yes. So a lot of times it is just and this is what it was with my mom. It was like she's dying. So like no more tests, no more taking her. And she didn't want to do that anymore. So it's more of a like, no. And that's it, or a yes, right? And the yes to me, this is what I'm practicing. The yes feels like delight, right? Like that sounds delightful, right? One of my favorite intuition teachers talks about, like, if you really, really, really craving a thing and you don't know what it is, and then somebody says, "Ooh, what about sushi?" And that, like, yes, like that's what we're going for, right? Like, oh my God, yes, sushi. Oh my God, right? And not a no in a like punishing way. It's never punishing. It's never this person's at fault, so fuck them. It's always just a no.
Mhm.
No,
It's
thank
more of a,
you.
like, "You don't want this." Like, I
Exactly.
just wanna turn my body around
Uh
and
huh.
walk. "No, thank you." I've had that with emails. That the other when this
Yes.
weird bug was going on, I was getting these emails, and I would just know, and I don't know if you've had this. I have this with, like, client inquiries now, and I don't know if that's just but it's
Totally.
like, it will seem fine on its face, but I will just have a, like, "No," and there is, like, a weird vibe to the email,
Yeah.
and I will just be like, "I am not answering that one," or I'm
Right.
like, I'm just "Oh, no, I'm full," whatever. It's like just a feeling, and I
Yeah.
now listen
Follow
to it.
it. I do the same thing with because I have a constant to-do list going on in my brain, like most overfunctioning women of my age. And I'll have like, I need to answer that one email. I need to answer that one email. And if I don't find the time, if I just keep going back to it and I'm like, then now I don't beat myself up. Now I'm like, I'm not supposed to answer this yet.
Mm, yeah, I must have nothing to say at
Yeah.
this time.
Great.
Number 5, it will the intuition response, I find, will often cost you something.
Mm,
To you, usually it's a cost to your ego, perhaps, like, "Oh, I can't handle this," or "I'm not as, like, nice as I thought I
I'm not as
was," or "I'm not as
agreeable.
people pleasing," or it will cost you something with others, like,
Yeah.
someone else may not like this. This is gonna it's like it's often the harder thing to do, and that's why I think we're very prone to be like, "Oh, that probably wasn't no, that's not right. I didn't hear
Yeah.
that." Like, but it's like, I think often we don't even I often wanna say to people, "You don't even have to do what the intuition says, but, like, can you just sit with it and be curious for a
Totally.
minute and, like, let yourself wonder, why might my higher wisdom or a fairy be telling me just, like, let yourself, because some people have such a knee-jerk yes
Yeah.
because we're people pleasers and we had to overfunction, and it's like, just hang out
Hang out in the
in the
know.
pause.
Yeah.
In the pause.
Yeah, for me, it's so often I won't be someone's favorite. If I go
Mhm.
along with this, I won't be someone's favorite. I won't be precisely what they need me to be in this moment. And that's good practice for me.
And often when you do that, you're like, "Oh, that
Oh.
was okay, maybe I didn't enjoy that role as much as I thought I did."
Right? And maybe being
Thank
everyone's
you, intuition.
yeah, maybe being everyone's favorite fucking person is really exhausting and I don't need to be that. Yeah. Great. So fun things to try. I love this. Tell them what you did with your group, the experiment.
So, what I had the group do and what I do now, well, now I just do it forever, but I say to people, like, just try for a week, try
Yeah.
for a month, whatever period of time, say, "I'm gonna do whatever my intuition says, or I'm at least gonna be curious about it."
Yeah.
Just, like, try for a month and see what happens, and
Yeah.
often people notice things. I mean, I've found it's led to, like, major shifts in my life,
Yeah.
but it's like, just kind of take some time and let that be the thing that you're reaching for and noticing, rather than, like, self-helping yourself. Try
Yeah.
just being like, "I'm just gonna listen to my intuition and see what happens."
Analyze anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I want to share with you, and then we'll go back to number 6 at the end, Lisa, if you're watching. The Rachel Dratch trick. So this is actually from Rachel Dratch. If you know who she is, she's an improv dork. She was on SNL for a long time. I love her. She actually has an amazing podcast called Woo Woo because she's like a secret woo woo person. She's like a Hollywood person, but she loves woo woo stuff. And she has this trick, which I love. And I tried this just a few weeks ago to help me make a decision. So if you have an either or uh, decision that you have to make in your life, either this or that, ask the universe, goddess, mother Beyonce, I don't care, whoever you want, ask your highest self, ask your predetermined nervous system, whatever. Ask them, if I should choose A, show me purple flowers. If I should choose B, show me white feathers. It works. I know that sounds woo woo AF, but it works. I did this a couple weeks ago where I was choosing between two people that I was going to work with, and I was taking it helps if you're doing it the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes as you're falling asleep and the 30 minutes after you wake up are the most important times. It's when your body is still kind of on the astral plane, if you're into that. And I was taking a nap, and I did the thing. If I should choose this person, show me something purple that shouldn't be purple, like undeniably purple. If I should choose this person, show me white feathers. I got white feathers. It was wild. And then in my head, I was like, that can't be white feathers. And then I got more white feathers. So
in the world or in your head?
In the world.
Stop.
In the world.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
I'm doing this.
Yeah, Rachel Dratch. Thank you.
Yes.
So that's just
I was once told I was like Rachel Dratch as an improviser. Once I was told that.
I can see that. Do you?
But I had Rachel Dratch energy.
I can see
FYI.
that. I can see that. I got that. I love her. Every time she pops up in anything, I'm like, thank God, I love her. She's great. Her podcast Woo Woo is really, really good because she has famous people on telling their woo woo stories of like ghosts and stuff. It's cool. But anyway, try that trick. And that's a fun trick to play with your intuition. And then what I've found the couple of times I've done that is once I get the validation from the universe, the white feathers, the purple thing, the whatever, I'm like, I did know that. Right. And that's the thing is like, I did. Yeah. That's what, because then you get that. It's sort of like flipping a coin. Like if you have and then when you flip the coin, whatever the coin says, then you can track how you feel about that. Right.
Well, it's the pregnancy test. It's the Friends pregnancy test.
I've never seen Friends, but yes, I've heard that. Never seen Friends.
What? Wait, what? What just happened? Okay, we'll be revisiting that in a future episode.
There is a cultural phenomenon that you know more about than I do. Yeah, and it's if anything happened between the year like 2000 and 2010, that was my hippie phase. I didn't have a TV. So I've never seen Seinfeld, I've never seen Friends. I know. And you thought I was like a pop culture encyclopedia. Right? Nope, except for that one decade. Yeah.
Oh my Lord. All right. We must continue on, but I'm going to need to absorb that. I'm going to talk to my intuition about this moment.
Okay,
later.
Great.
Wow.
So then the last thing that of the list that Lisa put that I love is the validation is not always guaranteed immediately. But like, what if you don't get it? Also, a lot of times you get it later. And the question that came up in my mind when I read that, because I think that's so true, but I think in a culture that's obsessed with the concrete, the material world, we devalue the value of just peace of mind. And what if just having peace of mind, just loving my dumb bright blue 2013 car is validation enough? I don't need concrete scientific research. What do we have to do? Research-based, evidence-based, blah, blah, blah. Fuck all that shit. Right? Like, what if just the validation is the peace of mind that you get from, like, if you had brought your laptop. Yeah.
In many cases, like if it's the lab, I'm getting validation on things now that happened years ago, and it is weird.
I love that.
And it's great. It's so fun. And like, if it's a case where you're like, I'm not going to go on a second date with this person and I don't know why, it's just a feeling, you're probably never, ever going to know if that was right or wrong. But you are building what this does. What I think people need, what would be helpful to understand is whether or not it's right or wrong, you are strengthening your relationship with yourself.
Amen.
You are validating yourself.
Yes.
And that, even if you are wrong as all get out, is going to take you miles further than anything else. Like if you are validating you,
right,
and that is the healing part.
Yes.
Whether or not you're right or wrong. What is right or
what does even that mean? I don't know. Ask a boomer. They seem to think that exists.
It's like sliding doors. Well, I could have had this life, that. I mean, who knows? But like, it's the building a relationship with yourself, which is why I like to think of it as like, consider just forming a relationship with your intuition. You might not even know it at all. You have no relationship. Like you could just like meet it at a bar this week.
I love that.
I'm gonna check you out. I'm gonna check you out.
Well, and also the external validation is you're requiring that the world validate, but maybe you just, if you follow your intuition, maybe you just have a life that you love. Maybe you just have a life that you enjoy. Maybe you just have a life where your insides match your outsides, right? Because like I didn't have any external validation for moving my entire life across the country to this weird desert that's full of gay people and Republicans, but I love it. And it doesn't work for everybody, right? But like that's all the validation that I need. So I love where you wrote, I loved your that like maybe we should explore our relationship with external validation, because who needs it?
And consider, as you were saying that, I was thinking about, consider all the money that doesn't get made and
Yes.
all the systems that start to crumble
Word.
if everyone does this. And that's probably
Why we don't.
the point of why we were so consistently told to ignore it.
And to focus more on what's right and wrong according to white supremacy, puritanical nonsense, blah, 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 instead of our internal.
Like you didn't buy the car.
No, I don't want
I mean,
that
I
car.
think that you didn't buy
That's
a
true.
car.
I didn't buy
And I
the
think
car.
that is a
Right.
great metaphor
Yes.
for why the system may not want us all trusting our intuition.
Because I love my dumb little car.
You do. You love it.
I love that dumb little car.
It's a very cute car.
It gets 40 miles to the gallon. It's amazing.
It's
Yeah.
We're now a commercial for this.
For smart cars,
Car.
2013 smart cars. All right. I feel really good about that.
I feel like that's a wrap. That was, yeah. What more could we say?
I love all of that. Like us, friend us. I am Paula D. Atkinson on all the things. Lisa is the Lisa K's on Instagram. And Lisa is tearing it up on the TikTok. Gen X TikTok has exploded with Lisa's contributions. I'm obsessed. You're so good at it.
I've learned how to do a cap cut. My son taught me how to do a cap cut. I can make the memes now. It's a world.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I see. You need a 9-year-old. David is like, when am I taking over your socials? And I'm like, shortly, evidently, shortly.
A cap cut? Okay, you'll explain that to me off the air. I don't know what that means. But like us and subscribe. And as always, please give us an iTunes review. That's so helpful for the mysterious algorithm. And if you have questions that you would love to ask to disillusioned therapists, we
having midlife crises
in the middle of menopause, we would love to answer those questions for you. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.